So I just finished brining my corned beef, a whole brisket. So I've got 12 pounds of brisket in there, and I've got it brining for about, I want to say a week, so that I can have a great corned beef and cabbage traditional Irish American meal with my son on the weekend that I have him before St. Patty's Day. So it's not going to be on St. Patty's Day, but it'll be traditional. And I got to thinking about that, and I wanted to share with you the history of it. So, corned beef and cabbage is not traditionally an Irish dish, it's traditionally an Irish American dish. So, if I break down the history for you, I'll bring you up to speed on that. So, why is it called corned beef? There's no corn in it. Well, back in the days of salt production, they could only get them about the size of a kernel of corn. So that was called corning something. Now, also, beef were not even traditionally an Irish food item. If you had a cow, that was a symbol of wealth, and you used it to provide your family with dairy. You used it to work the fields for its strength. You used a lot of things, but you didn't eat it until it could not work the field and it could not provide you with dairy anymore. And then it wasn't even a very ceremonious thing. The British, however, have been big beef eaters since the Roman conquest, and they brought that to Ireland. So the salt tax is what made corned beef in Ireland, the production, actually take off because the British running an empire were pretty savvy about what got taxed where and how much. So the salt tax in Ireland was about a tenth of what it was in Britain. So they shipped the cows over to Ireland to maintain that corned beef production. Now the Irish couldn't eat it. They couldn't afford it. So they traditionally ate lamb and bacon and those types of meals with cabbage on St. Patrick's Day. But they couldn't afford beef because of the high taxes. Now, the British actually used the Irish to provide corned beef to the entire European continent and a lot of other things. But still, the Irish couldn't eat it. Now, enter the potato famine, and the Irish immigrate over to America. So now they're congregating in New York, and what they're doing is they're building communities. So they can now actually, because of the industrial age, afford beef. But what turns out, here's the irony in it, so they decide to buy corned beef to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. But it's not the same corned beef they've been selling out of Ireland for 200 years. It is actually because all of the butchers in New York City at the time were kosher, so this is Jewish corned beef. It's got a whole different flavor. But that's what took off in America. So, like I said, I just finished brining it, and that's what I'm making so that I can share with my son a traditional Irish American St. Patrick's Day meal. And I think he's probably really gonna like it. So I'm trying to figure out if I missed anything on the history of corned beef. As far as the recipe goes, basically we take a brine, we boil it, we bring it down to chilled temperature, we inject it into the brisket, and then I'm going to let this sit for about a week. And then I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to braise it with the cabbage and probably some onions and garlic and carrots and celery and make it pretty delicious. So I'll get back to you then. But right now, and I'll show this to you, this guy has got to go to bed for a week. About 3 days into it, I'll pull it out and I'll actually overhaul the brisket. I'll pull it out and flip it. But that's what we're getting into. So I just wanted to kind of share the history with you because a lot of people think that it is like a super traditional Irish meal, but it's not. So there we go. There's about 10 seconds of just the brisket, and it is a huge brisket. And you guys, if I don't talk to you, happy St. Patty's.